Morning, Gene.
Hey, Mark.
Just bear with me here. I'm going through the process of bringing people in.
No problem.
Just so you know, for those of you that are in the attendee pool right now, I'm going through and promoting folks to be panelists so that your mic is open and you can speak freely. This is just another layer of protection here for us. Especially after the Zoom bombing experience we had a few months ago. Allison, is that you? Someone from the CDC had their hand up a minute ago. So if you're getting a message that you're being promoted as a panelist, you don't have to accept it if you don't want to, but you're welcome to. It will give you an opportunity to open your mic and speak freely.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Allison. Did you have a question? I saw your hand was up a minute ago.
No, I had a question because you had promoted me as a panelist and I had declined it. So I was like, oops, I
Gotcha.
wasn't aware of that. So I have to just mute for a second, bring Jim Harwood on. He can't find the link. And so I'm going to
Okay.
share that with a bunch of people. Thanks.
Okay. If everyone could just bear with me for a minute here, I'm just letting folks in. Somebody's calling in from a phone line. If you can just hit *6 and raise your hand and identify yourself, I'll go ahead and promote you as a panelist as well. John and Terry and someone coming in as a town of Great Barrington. Again, just raise your hand if you'd like to be promoted and I'll go ahead and do that. Get started in just a minute. Good morning, everyone. Still some folks coming in. Okay, I don't want to keep you all waiting. I'll try to keep an eye on the participant pool here and let folks in as they join. I just wanted to say good morning and welcome back. I'm planning to resume these coffee chats now every month on the first Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And we had a nice break over the summer just so that all of you could enjoy your vacations. And I know many of you were very busy, at least town seemed very busy from my perspective anyway. So the format for this morning, we're working with a webinar format because it's just, again, an additional layer of security for us. It allows me to have a little more control over the meeting. So anyone in the participant pool, there are other folks that you cannot see. Those of you that have been promoted as panelists, there are other folks on the line that have not asked to be promoted. So they're just able to listen and they can raise their hand when they would like to. But all of you, those of you on my screen right now, have control over your mics. You're welcome to open them at any time. This is a casual conversation. This morning, just wanted to go over what you can expect. We're going to hear from Gene Carr. Gene's here this morning to talk about Berkshire Busk and give us a recap of the 2021 season, lessons learned and whatnot. We'll have an opportunity to ask Gene some questions after he presents in just a minute, and then we'll open it up to a casual general discussion after that, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. And I have a few updates to provide you as well. You probably noticed a number of projects getting underway around town right now, so I'll try to talk about those in a few minutes as well. So again, good morning, everyone. Gene, welcome, and we'd love to hear from you. How did the summer go with Berkshire Busk?
Well, let's just start with the rain at the beginning of the summer. That was a bit of a bummer. But surprisingly, we had 10 weekends, 20 nights scheduled. And in the end, we ended up with 17 nights of performances. So we only really lost three nights completely to the rain. I think I'll just preface by saying that I'm in the process now of gathering a lot of data that we collected over the summer. I worked with Ann O'Dwyer at Simon's Rock, and we collected over 200 surveys from people on the street. We also did our own surveying. We surveyed the buskers who participated, and we are collecting a bunch of that data, which isn't ready yet, but I'm going to have a sort of more formal, detailed presentation that is in the works. But I would say that the couple things we learned. One, there's a heck of a lot of performers rehearsing in their basements and in their garages who are dying to perform. 3/4 of the performers that applied were from Massachusetts, most of them within an hour or two of driving. So there's just an incredible depth of performers, and the vast majority of people that applied, we agreed to let them perform. So the quality is really strikingly high, and there's just a lot of performers of all types, whether it's a lot of musicians, but we, as you know, we had dancers and people that were doing a variety of different kinds of performances. The other thing we found is that people loved it. We got a lot of very, very positive comments from people on the street. I would say, you know, the only consistent comment that we heard from people that will sort of be something we'll think about for the future is that folks were disappointed that more stores weren't open. They were on the street. They were ready to eat. They were ready to walk around. They wanted to sort of the experience of being downtown for them meant walking around and hearing performers, but they also wanted to wander into a lot of the stores. And we heard that was probably the only consistent comment we got from folks on the street. What else did we learn? We learned that the town planners of Great Barrington, when they invented the town of Great Barrington, however many hundred years ago, didn't think about a busking festival. Some locations in Great Barrington are really good for performers. Some locations don't work that well. Main Street is noisy. Cars drive by, motorcycles drive by. There's definitely impediments to doing this successfully on the streets of Great Barrington. We definitely swapped out locations. We spent a lot of time each week figuring out where to put people. There's sort of a push and a pull between putting groups. If you spread groups out far enough away so that each group can't hear each other, turns out people don't want to walk that far. If you're at Car Hardware, the post office is Siberia. I mean, there is just no way to get people to round that corner. And truthfully, getting people to cross the street to go over to hear a group in front of Fuel, that's also Siberia. So we learned a little bit about the dynamics of what people casually walking on the street are willing to do. We ended up bunching the groups a little bit together, which annoyed some of the performers because they could hear their fellow performers. But on the other hand, what it did for the viewers, for the participants, is they would be listening and they would hear something in the distance, and that would cause them to go to the next group and the next group. So we sort of opted to kind of bring people together to create a more festival kind of experience. So I would say, you know, we also found, I also found that the performers were very happy. Like we surveyed them, and overwhelmingly people said they would come back and perform again. So that's sort of my quick overview. I would actually, the thing that is the most perplexing to me, and I'd actually like to throw this question to you. We tried, it has to do with promotion and getting the word out. We got an enormous amount of publicity. You probably know that. We were in the Globe, we were in the Eagle, we were in the Edge, we were on WAMC. We got a tremendous amount of publicity. When we surveyed, and we tried a bunch of things. We were in the Berkshire Shopper, we did posters. As it turns out, the number one, probably won't be surprised. The number one way that people heard about the festival was none of the above. It was word of mouth. People heard about it from their friends, which is kind of a double-edged sword, because if they heard it from the friends, well, I want to know, how did the friends hear about it? So like someone eventually needs to hear it first from somewhere. But I'm curious. I don't know, the old adage about spending money on advertising is that, you know 50% of it worked and 50% didn't, but you just don't know which 50%. I'd be curious to know whether those of you that are online who were paying attention to stuff happening in Great Barrington, where did you hear about this festival? Because I'm not convinced that we spent the money in the most appropriate way. Certainly the survey results didn't show that where we placed the money actually got the results. So I'd be curious, and I'll end here and just say that I'll eventually have a more full report in a couple of weeks, but I would love to hear from you about kind of promotion and what advice you'd give me to get the word out.
Jean, I have a question, Allison. Did you use social media for your efforts?
Yeah, we pretty much spent, so I had a full-time, well, I wouldn't say full-time, we had a part-time person who was spending a lot of her time. We focused on Instagram and Facebook. We found that Snapchat really wasn't a venue. TikTok wasn't a venue. We spent money on Facebook ads and then optimizing across Instagram. We ended up at the end of the day with just under 1,000 followers on Instagram. So we spent a lot of time on social, and that I think worked. The great thing is that the performers, most of them have either Facebook or Instagram sites, and the performers would promote the fact that they were performing to their friends. So if you look at where we reached, the number of cities and towns that people came from, when you look on our website, it was vast because all the performers use social themselves.
Yep. And do you know what the age group of people who actually came to the event?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a vague answer, and eventually I can give you a detailed answer. It was I think the biggest age range was 35 to 45. It was surprisingly consistent. Sort of, there was no age range that popped up. The sort of 18 to 24. It was all pretty consistent. I will say that of the people that did our surveys, and also when you look at the data on Instagram and Facebook, 3/4 of the audience, and this is not inconsistent with other performing arts, 3/4 of the people that responded were women. Women tend to be the most responsive with respect to online participation in the arts and performances, and we found that consistently with the web as well.
Yep, I see Robin shaking her head yes.
Yeah, right.
So I know she's thinking about this.
Other questions or thoughts on the promotion side or any other side?
I think Robin's muted.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. I want to say two things. One, I always think that marketing should be approached as a cocktail. So it's not going to be one particular channel. It's going to be all of the above. And you and I have discussed this, but I think that's one takeaway. And the other is time. That this kind of a festival, it takes time to grow, and it does grow organically, which is what your research said. So hang in there and you'll see it.
But I'll also say, Robin, that I think you're entirely right. The thing that probably surprised me the most out of the entire summer was the last weekend, which was Labor Day weekend. I was somewhat worried that nobody would show up because people are traveling or whatever. And I did put ads everywhere that said last weekend. And we had double the number of people on the street in that last weekend than any other weekend. So things do tend to, and also scarcity, when you say it's the last weekend, there's a lot of people that sat around saying, yeah, it's going to be next week, bad weather, whatever, I'll come. And then a lot of people came. So I agree with that.
I would agree with Robin also that I have found, and they state that people have to see something about 6 times on an average in different ways for their brains to say, I'm going to commit this because this is something I want to do or is important to me. So when you ask people that, because we've tried that also, we've said, how did you hear about this event? It's really hard because it's really the last place they heard about this event. And it usually that is common that isn't a conversation between a bunch of friends or a family member or something, because they've already heard it multiple times in different ways. So where you don't want to spend the money on all the additional advertising, I think unfortunately it's necessary, because if you don't do that beginning part, then there's really not a conversation. It doesn't click in their mind. So I think sadly it's important. And I sympathize with you and kind of chuckle when you say that you cannot get people to move from Car Hardware to the post office. I have endlessly, through 11, 12 years, tried to get people to move 10 feet, and you cannot do it. You can't it doesn't matter what you do, you cannot do it. And it's so unbelievably frustrating. But you just have to curb your scope, your area to fit that, because it's probably never going to happen. You're going to have something so chaotic that's a distant, even sad when you're doing like in a smaller event, you put the bar the farthest away because they will travel to the bar, so it's really hard. And then the last thing was the stores. And I know probably everybody here knows that we've tried for 15 plus years to get the stores, other than the 6 or 7 stores that stay open late, to get all the stores to pick an evening, Friday evening, Saturday evening, and just stay open a little later. And it has been an endless battle. And if you want to take up that parade, I'm happy to try to help you again. But I'll tell you, it's a hard battle. The conversation sometimes is absolutely ridiculous. Well, I can't do that because I get deliveries in the morning, so, or whatever.
I'm also sympathetic to the store owners who said to me, look, we'd love to stay open, but there's only so many hours that I can get staff to work. And my team is already, they've already been there all day and I can't get back up. And this summer in particular was just acute problems with staffing. Yep. So I'm sympathetic with that problem, and anyway.
Yeah, that was a common theme we were hearing here at Town Hall, is that retailers, restaurants would love to be open in the evenings. They just don't have the staff.
So I think the equivalent of the bar, which was the comment I was going to raise, my wife taught me about a party. If you don't want everybody in the kitchen, you put the bar on the front porch and you put the food on the back porch, and everybody has to move through the house.
Yeah.
So the equivalent for a music festival is figure out who your headliners are, put one of them at the north end of town and put one of them at the south end of town, and people will have to move between them. It'll at least help. Might make, you can't put the headliners in a space that doesn't make any sense at all, I guess. But if you could think about it that way, as using them as the magnets to pull people through town, then the other people will benefit. And yeah, on the not enough hours, not enough employees to stay open, the idea of staying open late, like one night a week, is great. And you can't make them do that. But if you start having a function that naturally draws people into town, I mean, these people are in business to make money. If they see that that's when customers are moving through town, eventually they'll figure out a way to get open. They might close on Tuesday and be open Wednesday night or whatever it is.
And as one of the retailers that was open late, I can tell you guys that we had direct effect of business from that 8 to 10 p.m. period at State Par. I know it's tricky for a lot of other retailers, but we gave the feedback to Gene to disseminate to the rest of the town that we did, that paid off. We made money in those hours. So
I would love to have those testimonials to send out to the businesses, because, if 7 businesses say something along those lines, then it would be positive to get them to think about staying open.
Eric Bruin also has some very good data. Eric has exceptionally good data of sales per hour per day. His data is fabulous. So that's another good resource.
Betsy, how do you want those testimonials, Betsy?
Email is fine.
Okay.
I'll also give a shout out. If any of you are doing events for kids, there's this thing called Berkshire Macaroni Kids, which is a targeted publication for parents. And I spent some money on it. And as Robin knows, we put together at last minute, it really in July, I invented this idea of doing a kids day, which ended up being one of the most successful things. And it was really a collaboration. We had a drum circle, we had 2 clowns. Robin provided this fantastic bag of candy that even 3-year-olds couldn't even carry because it was so heavy. And parents loved it. And the macaroni thing worked. So we ended up with we counted about 90 kids, and each kid came with, 1.5 parents. So it was, and we did it at Giggle Park in the back, and that was anyway, so that advertising was super targeted and really, really worked.
Jean, is there any thought to extending this into Sunday? And I also asked Mark if there's any thought to extending the Maryborough Street dining out project into Sunday. But Jean, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the Sunday question is this. Is it Sunday afternoon? Is it Sunday night? I think Sunday night is a no-go.
No,
So
no.
it would have to be Sunday. The issue with the day, believe it or not, has a lot to do with sunlight and temperature. So the fuel side of the street is in direct sunlight most of the day. Your side is, that other side is better. So anyway, I'm thinking about it, but there's some constraints on that day. So open to discussion.
I'm thinking of brunch, but we can have a separate discussion, but it's really a brunch thing because
Yeah.
I want to push Mark on the Sunday dine out again for brunch.
Good.
If there's, okay.
Great. Well, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Yeah, go ahead.
As far as outdoor dining goes, we did hold Sunday hours this summer only on the 3 holiday weekends. I'd love to see that expand, and that's a conversation I'll have with the restaurant owners this winter. I want to hear from them. I want to hear their feedback. It seemed like staffing issues really impacted outdoor dining this year. You started to see the tables dwindling throughout the summer, and eventually we decided that we would just pull the plug on Labor Day weekend because I really wanted to see outdoor dining end on a high note rather than see it fizzle out over the fall. So if staffing improves, I guess over the winter and in the spring months, and there's interest from the restaurants, I would really love to see outdoor dining expand into Sundays. The one hurdle we have is that the state through the governor's office has allowed outdoor consumption of alcohol during the COVID pandemic, which was extended through April. If some permanent legislation isn't passed in the meantime, we're going to have to figure out a way to overcome that. So we may have to revert back to enclosed spaces, such as what you saw on our sidewalks pre-COVID. So we really need to work with our legislators and encourage them to put forward something if there isn't something on the table now.
Thank you.
Jean, I know you have to go. I know you're on another Zoom call, but I just want to thank you for coming this morning and really congratulate you on a successful 2021 season. It was really, I spent a number of nights downtown over the summer, and nice work. You and your team really did a great job bringing people downtown and keeping the energy downtown really alive and our downtown hub buzzing this summer. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll also just say, none of it would have happened without the sponsors. And that, I couldn't have done it on my own. And so I'm going to go back to the sponsors and ask them if they're going to re-up. And the sooner, that's kind of I didn't really finish raising money until May of last year. I'd like to begin to get initial commitments, in October, November, so that way I can plan what we're going to do, get staffing in place. That's the benefit of having done this. So really the entire thing starts with the support from within the town. So anyway, thank you. And thanks to you, Mark, for your support. It was really fabulous. Robin also has been a great supporter, and Alan's company was a great lead supporter. So thanks to everybody for really helping. It was a team effort, as they say.
Thank you, Jean.
Okay, thanks.
Jean.
Gotta run. Sorry.
See you soon.
Yeah.
I wanted to just take this opportunity to mention, I see several people have actually joined us in the participant pool. If you'd like to be promoted to a panelist so that you can speak freely, just raise your hand and I will go ahead and do that. It looks like we have 17 people participating that you folks can't see at the moment. So anyway, I think at this point, I'd just like to provide a few town updates, and then we'll open it up to a general conversation. So first off on my list here is the cultural district banners that you probably noticed that they're starting to pop up downtown, at least on the east side of the street. And I believe later this week, you'll start to see them pop up on the west side of the street. So that's really exciting. That's a project that the cultural district has been working on for quite a while now. And it's really nice to see permanent banners placed downtown. You're gonna start to see that we'll have seasonal banners. So we'll have the Du Bois banners up during the months of February and March, and then the cultural district banners, the American flag banners that we purchased this summer will be installed between Memorial Day and the 4th of July. And then, of course, the BIF banners go up during BIF season. But, it's really nice to have that downtown. Just, I don't know about you, but they just pop to me, and I really notice every time they're changed downtown. We get quite a bit of positive feedback whenever they're changed. So I think they're received really well. The downtown Wi-Fi project that we have been working on, which is a free Wi-Fi network in the downtown core, that is moving forward. I see Richard Stanley is on the line. And Richard, if you'd like to chime in here and add anything to this, please do. Richard's been a real leader in this project, and the network is getting underway now. We're working on getting agreements in place with some downtown building owners. So if you are a building owner or know a building owner, please let us know. We'd love to chat with them and just build that network. And the goal is to provide free Wi-Fi in the downtown district. Of course, it would be timed so that we wouldn't be offering free Wi-Fi necessarily to businesses and residents downtown, but for our guests, so that they can find restaurants, find stores, find the performing arts venues that they're looking for, things like that. And then the last thing on my list that I just wanted to mention is that we are getting our American Rescue Plan Act conversation started right now. Monday night was the first night. We kicked off kind of an overview, a staff overview of the program. So you'll be hearing quite a bit of conversation about that. And if you haven't heard already, the town of Great Barrington has received about $2.1 million. We've received half of that already, and we anticipate receiving the second 50% of that funding within a year. And there's 5 ways in which we as a community can spend that money. The eligible categories are public health funding, economic impacts of the public health emergency, lost public sector revenue, premium pay for essential workers, and then water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So I think a number of conversations will take place over the next couple of months, maybe years here, as we look at how we spend this funding. We have to have this funding obligated by December 31st of 2024 and spent by December 31st of 2026. So we don't need to rush into the conversation, but I just wanted to get you folks thinking about where as a community we can invest this money and how we can have the greatest impact on the most people. So that said, I'll open it up to a general discussion now. I don't know if anyone has any questions or topics they'd like to cover. And again, I'm seeing more people joining the participant pool. If you'd like me to promote you as a panelist so that your mic is open and you can join the conversation, just raise your hand. I'll see you and I'll go ahead and do that. So anyone? Robin?
Mark, I'd like to understand a bit more about how the funds would be dispersed for the help for small businesses. And I'm thinking in particular about the CDC SB's Small Business Technical Assistance Program.
That decision hasn't been made yet. What we did on Monday night was really just present the program in general terms, so just to get people thinking about it. And our staff recommendation to the board on Monday was that we do a couple of things, that we develop a survey so we can hear from folks that we're not typically hearing from, meaning those people that generally attend our select board meetings. And then also to hold a public input session, feedback session. And we've scheduled a date. That's Monday, November 1st at 6 o'clock. So we'll be doing some PR work to get the word out through our traditional media channels and then through our Facebook and Instagram accounts. So once we hear from people, whether it's through the survey or through that feedback input session on November 1st, staff will then take a look at our capital plan, our 5-year capital improvement plan. We'll take a look at our strategic planning priorities that have been developed by the board. And then we'll also consider all of the feedback that we received from the public, from the business community. And we'll put together a recommendation for the board to consider. So everything is on the table right now. We're open to all of your suggestions. So if you have a good idea you want to bring forward, just do that. Join us on the November 1st evening, or shoot me an email, or take the survey. However you want to reach out, we'll keep all that
Okay.
information together.
Just a follow up to that. So jumping ahead, I read in the press release, it ultimately is a board decision. It does not have to go to town meeting. And what is the time frame for disbursement ultimately?
It's still unclear. We have to meet those deadlines within the ARP guidelines. So we have to have the money obligated. So we have to have decisions made by December 31st of 2024. We have to have the money spent by December 31st of 2026. But how we'll choose to spend that money along the way is still unclear. Again, we only have 50% of the funding in our hands at the moment, and we expect the final 50% within the following year. So they haven't really given us any idea yet when that
Okay.
second 50% will be released. But Allison?
Yeah, I'm, in regard to the 50%, do you mean that the 2.7 million that you have will be doubled, or are you still anticipating another allocation that could be a number that you just don't know yet?
No, the 2.1 million is the final number.
Okay.
We've received a little over $1 million now. It's just under 2.1 million. If I could give you the
Right.
exact breakdown here, but no,
I think 2,875,000, something like
yeah,
that.
exactly. 2.075.
Okay,
And the funding, if you're interested, is coming in two forms. One is a local allocation, which is the town's portion, and then the second is a county allocation. So since we don't have county government anymore in Berkshire County, we're also getting our portion of that funding. But the 2.075 million is the final number. We don't expect to receive any more.
okay, great. Thank you for clarifying. And I think, since we've got a couple of our team members here, I'd say we've got 5 board members on the call. Obviously, we're most interested in seeing how we might fit that allocation regarding affordable housing, since we're actively looking to pursue additional projects in town. And then, to Robin's point, support to further our work in helping the small businesses through our small business technical assistance. And if you need more information, Mark, on that program or anything that we're doing current, I'm happy to put a proposal together, whatever you need.
Great. Thanks, Allison. Someone has their hand up here, so I'm going to go ahead and open their mic.
Hi, Mark. It's me, Vivian Orlowski. I'm listed as Town of Great Barrington because of my participation on behalf of the Agricultural Commission in other venues where I represent the town of Great Barrington. So it just follows me wherever I'm online with Zoom. But my question is concerning the ARPA process. I had the opportunity to listen to the Metropolitan Area Planning Council or Commission for the Boston Metropolitan area. They had 2 open webinars for their area and for the public about ARPA funding. And I sent the links. They were very informative. I sent the links beforehand to Chris. I don't know if he had time to listen in.
Oh. Vivian, we lost you there for a second. Your mic is muted, it looks like.
Hello?
There, now we can hear you.
Did you hear anything or,
We did. We lost you around the Chris Rembold email.
oh, okay. Yeah, because at that point, I just clicked on being on the screen, but I don't know if it's showing up or not. Oh, no, I have to click on my screen. Okay. Hi.
There you are.
So, yeah, I sent the links to Chris, but I don't know if he had time to listen. But the point I want to make is that they talked about in addition to the allocations to the towns and cities that specifically go to them, they saw opportunities to kind of piggyback on or complement and get benefit from the funds that the state is going to spend. And they encouraged municipalities to do some regional pairings, and they thought that by collaborating with others, they would have a better chance of taking part in the state level of funding. And I was wondering if that's something that has crossed your desk in terms of a part of your overall ARPA planning.
Not at this point. I am following what's happening on the state level as well. They're having the same conversations we're having right now, how to utilize this COVID relief funding. So we will certainly, once we have a plan in place here locally, be reaching out to our Berkshire County legislators and encouraging them to help us with particularly infrastructure improvements here in Great Barrington.
Has Berkshire Regional Planning Commission taken any initiatives just the way MAPC did? That's they're the equivalent for MAPC in this area.
Yeah, I can't answer that, but
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
But this is just the very beginning of this conversation. So we hope to have more information and be able to provide more information in the coming weeks and months.
In terms of the local process, are you going to have a deadline for the surveys, or is that how open-ended is responding to the surveys?
We'll probably have an initial deadline. We're in the process now of creating a template for that survey. We're trying to create a template that will really give us not the answers we're looking for, but give us the answers that fit within these 5 categories, right? We want to make sure that the comments we're getting are comments related to projects that we just can't fund with this money. And so we'll develop that accordingly so that we're getting the feedback we need rather than the feedback that isn't all that helpful. So
Okay.
I do think we'll keep it open-ended, though. I don't see any reason to put a hard deadline on that. I can always share the results of those surveys with the select board as we go through this process over the next year or so. But we'll at least have probably an early deadline, maybe 30 days after we release it, just to kind of gather that initial information.
So that, along with the public gathering on November 1st, will be kind of the first step. And it sounds like you are planning not to make decisions, long-term decisions based on that, but just kind of help guide the next steps. Is that the idea?
That is the idea. We've been staff as a whole has been encouraging the select board to really take their time with this. $2.1 million is a pretty significant amount of money. And we want to just make sure that we take everything into consideration before we make any decisions. So fortunately, the federal government and the Commonwealth has given us the flexibility by making these deadlines so far out, 2024, 2026. So, I'm encouraging them to take their time. That doesn't mean we want to sit on this money for the next 5 years, but really take in all of the feedback that we can, really look at our capital improvement plan, really look at our strategic planning priorities, and come up with a strong recommendation and a plan before we present it. Our understanding at this point is that since this funding is coming to us in the form of a grant, rather than as revenue to the town that would have to close to free cash and then be appropriated at a town meeting. Our understanding is that we do not need any town meeting approval. So this is our public process. This is the equivalent of town meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions or comments? There's still
Can you give
16 other folks in the participant pool as well.
Mark, can you just give a quick overview on any interface between the LRRP, Local Rapid Recovery Plan, and this one? Is there any interface between the two?
That's a good question. I can't answer that. We're so early on the ARPA process right now, but I will make a note of that and see if we can cover that at the next meeting, or I can reach out to you by email.
Thank you.
So you're wondering about overlap between the two?
Overlap, yeah. And if applying for one as a project precludes applying for another.
Okay.
And if there's other things that those of us that might be thinking about our organizations looking at one versus the other.
Gotcha. Let me see what I
Thank
can
you.
find out.
Thanks.
Anyone else with a question or a comment this morning? Or topic they'd like to cover? Tim, did you have anything you wanted to add on the Wi-Fi project?
Can you go into the mask situation and any other COVID related things in this conversation today?
I'm sorry, did you say the mask?
Matt, can you discuss a bit about where we stand as a town, COVID and
Sure.
related?
Yeah, well, actually, good news to report. This is the first week here in Great Barrington that we have no new reported cases of COVID. So that's really exciting news. The cases have been relatively low in town anyway, and mostly concentrated in households. So the risk here continues to be low, but that's really good news, especially as the temperatures get a little colder. People are going indoors to have results like that is really exciting. The Board of Health will be meeting this week to talk about revisiting their public health advisory around COVID. You know, they've been updating that periodically. I don't expect any changes from the Board of Health at this time. So yeah, nothing new to report. I don't anticipate closing town buildings like we did over the last year, at least at times of spikes in COVID cases in the area. We've all adapted pretty well at this point. We have offices and desks spread out far enough that everyone has a comfortable, safe distance. We have shields in place, hand sanitizer. So I think we're prepared to get through the winter season, even if we do see an uptick in cases again, which I hope is not the situation. But
I just want to give a shout out to Rebecca from your health agent, because she did an awesome job providing some signage, some uniform signage from the health department. And I'll be sharing that more broadly. And Betsy, I'm going to ask if you want to join me in that to get this signage out so that all of the merchants, some of whom are on this call, can have some kind of uniform signage. She has 3 different templates and all of them have the health department seal.
Great. Yeah, I will pass that along to her. We did start to receive some inquiries from retailers in town, restaurant owners in town, looking for some uniform signage so that the message was really coming from the community rather than the individual store owners. And if there's anything we can do to support you in those efforts, please let us know and we'll do that. We'll do whatever it takes.
Thank you.
Allison?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, the town, for the great work you did on the sidewalks on Bridge Street and Bentley Avenue. Big plus for the Bentley Apartments, as well as when we opened the park on the riverfront. So thank you. Excellent work. Looks great. You guys were efficient. I was just thrilled. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Allison. I'll pass that along to Sean and his crew that are guiding us through all these projects. In fact, in addition to that project, you've probably noticed a number of other projects in town. The Taconic Wall project is underway at the moment. That project should be wrapping up by Thanksgiving. The Taconic lot, parking lot project is underway right now, and they're really moving a pace over there. It's kind of surprising how quickly they're getting through that work. So that's exciting. I know it's disruptive, and we've had a few folks, particularly residential folks downtown, reach out to us to complain about it. But you know, we did our best. We waited to get through the summer season, so we didn't impact the summer business downtown. And this is our window between summer and the asphalt plants closing in the fall. So this is really the only time we can do it. So we'll make it as painless as possible. But our front steps at Town Hall, you've probably noticed, are being replaced. There's a large fence around the entrance. Town Hall is still open. You're welcome to enter through the registry entrance or through the accessible entrance, the elevator entrance on the side of the building. And then the Bridge Street project is underway, and you'll probably also see some work happening very shortly over in the Elm Court and Rosser Street neighborhood. We have a plan to replace the sidewalks and paving over in that neighborhood as well. So lots of projects happening. Jim, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Allison said, since I was involved with that as well. It was really kind of complicated management between us and our earthworks contractor and the remediation aspect, and you guys, and you're putting your project out to bid and working in a residential neighborhood. And I thought Chris Remble was so helpful in that. And you mentioned that people are complaining about whatever project it was that they're complaining about, but so I just wanted to pass on the compliment that I thought it was really potentially a rat's nest that was unsolvable, but Chris was very good about it, patient, and a real, great person to work with. So thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I'll pass that along to Chris as well. Looks like we have John Coleman has his hand up. Go ahead, John.
This is actually Coley. I just had 2 quick questions. As far as the Indigenous Peoples ceremony that will be held on Monday the 11th, I was just wondering if there's going to be any town representation there, as well as any marketing or support of that event.
Yeah, so there will certainly be town representation at that event. I'm not sure if you're aware that the town of Great Barrington adopted a proclamation last year, changing from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. So we've changed our town calendars and have begun to make that shift as of last year. So I'm sorry, I think I missed a part of your question. I covered the participation, but there was something else as well.
Yeah, just wondering if there was any support in marketing or getting the word out about that specific event on the 11th.
Yeah, we'd be happy to use our town social media accounts, our Facebook account, our Instagram account, our website to help promote those events. Anyone else? Oh, Robin, you were muted. Looked like you were saying something.
Sorry. I just said this is helpful. Thank you. And I'm really excited that you're going to resume on a monthly basis.
Sure.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, thank you everyone for joining us this morning. It was a nice summer break, but it's also nice to be back hosting these. And I hope you find them helpful. Please invite friends and colleagues to join us, and we'll try to keep the communication flowing here from Town Hall and help you in any way we can. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. I try to keep these to about an hour, just so that everyone can get back to work and get back to doing what they're doing. And thank you again, and everyone that's in the participant pool. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, Mark.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.